prepare a week's menu. I've gone through and picked 7 dinners that I like to cook and that the family likes to eat. Then I've gone through and wrote them all down along with side dishes to go along with it. You'll see that on one of the days I have lasagna with salad and garlic French bread. I also have chicken with mashed potatoes and green beans. I have stroganoff with rolls and fresh broccoli. One day I have tater tot casserole with a salad. Then I have fish burgers, French fries, and carrots and celery sticks. Then I have spaghetti with garlic bread and salad. And then finally I have stew with rolls. Now my next thing I'm going to do is go through and find out what ingredients are going to be in each of those dinners. So I'm going to go start with the lasagna, and I'll write down each individual item that goes in with making that day's dinner. And then on the other side of my paper here, I'm going to make a shopping list. Okay, so I started my shopping list out with the ingredients that I need for my lasagna. So you'll see that I've broken these down into categories. I have a meat category, vegetables, dairy, and I have also canned goods on the bread, and a miscellaneous category. And I've done this so it makes it easier for when I go through with the rest of the meals to find out if I need doubles of something. And also it helps to break down and make it easier to shop when I get to the store. Now I'm going to go through the rest of my menu for the rest of the week and do the same thing. I will go ahead and start with the meat and break these down into each of its components and have a finished shopping list. So I've gone through my whole week's worth of menus and I've come up with this shopping list. So you see on the meat section there that I have at least 4 dinners that is going to have hamburger in it. So what I did is I went through and tallied that on there to show that I have 4 dinners and that I'll need at least probably 4 pounds, maybe 3 to 4 pounds of hamburger when I purchase that one. Now with the chicken I only need it for 1 meal, and the same with the stew meat. Now in the stew meat you can also get like a roast or something that you can cut up if you prefer. Stew meat sometimes tends to be a little bit expensive. Then I went through and added things to my other list and again tallied after them for how many meals I was going to use them for. You can see on the potatoes I have 2 tallies next to that, but that just means that I'm probably going to end up buying just a small sack of potatoes. I'm not going to buy just 2. So instead of going and buying just 2, I'll go buy a sack instead. Now on other ones you see there's a lot of vegetables under there. So I'm going to use those vegetables, whatever's left over, and use them in my stew that I'm going to have on probably Sunday. And then you'll see that I have dairy section over here with all the other like butter and milk and cheese products that I'm going to be doing. Be sure you check the dates on those to make sure that they are good and going to last for all week. And then I added a frozen section for my potatoes. And you can see there's fish portions there, breaded fish portions. Now when I do the breaded fish portions, I'm going to see if I can get sizes of fish that are going to fit on a hamburger bun. Which reminds me I need to put hamburger bun on my bread section. Then I'm going to go down to the canned goods. Now the tomato sauce and the mushrooms and tomato chunks and cream of mushroom soup. Now I do have recipes for those to come from scratch, but sometimes it's easier, and it may be easier for you to just go ahead and purchase these in a canned form. If you can't afford it, go and get the organic stuff instead. They're much better. The mushrooms, you see I have 2 tallies on there, so I get 2 cans of mushrooms. But if I'm going to use one right away, I might get 1 can of mushrooms and then some fresh ones instead, and use the fresh ones for the one that I'm going to work on first, and use the canned ones for the one I'm going to use in a couple days. Then you'll see I have some bread section. I'm going to add rolls to that. Not rolls, but hamburger buns for that one, which I forgot. And then down in the miscellaneous section. Now here, you'll see I have, I listed all the ingredients for what I'm going to need. On my stew, I'm going to need some flour to wrap the meat up in and then fry it. But I already have flour at home, so I'm not going to purchase that. I'm just going to mark it off my list. Same with the salt and pepper. I don't need to get any of that this week, so I'm just going to scratch that off. There's some other stuff too that I have standard at home. So I'm not going to purchase those unless I'm starting to run short, or unless they have a really good deal. and they're on sale. Now you'll see that there's garlic salt. I found it's much easier to make my French bread with garlic salt than it is to use fresh garlic. It gets a little kind of wonky there if I use fresh garlic. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's too strong, sometimes you can't even taste it at all. So garlic salt is much better. Basil. You can get fresh basil in the produce section. I suggest getting the fresh stuff before buying the dry stuff because actually it's much cheaper. Another place you can go to get cheaper spices and herbs is to go to the Hispanic section of your grocery store, and most of them do have a Hispanic section. They do have basil, and it's at like 99 cents a pound instead of like $8 or $9 a pound. Same stuff, just different packaging, different place in the store, and that goes with the other seasonings too. Let's see what else I have on here. Tartar sauce. My kids prefer one specific brand of tartar sauce, so when I go and buy that, I go and buy the specific brand of tartar sauce. Now, you may like a specific brand or just buy whatever's on sale, and until somebody complains otherwise. Let's see, cheese. I have Parmesan cheese over here. Now that can be fresh, which tends to be very expensive, or you can go get it out of the little shaker box. And it's, you know, it tastes okay. It's not the greatest in the world, but it works, and it has a longer shelf life. Just make sure to refrigerate it after you open it up. Cheddar cheese, good stuff. Get the good stuff. It's much better than getting what I would call a name brand that doesn't taste very good. If you're going to buy cheese in your dairy, just buy good stuff. And if it costs a little bit more, then just pay for it. Buy a smaller amount, but go for the more expensive stuff. And your veggies, make sure that they're nice and fresh. And when you get them home, put them in the refrigerator. Let's see, all those, yeah. Put them in your refrigerator. The onions don't really need to go, and neither do the garlic, but I find that they last longer if you stick them in the refrigerator. Potatoes, try to store those in a nice, cool place. And let's see what else is on here. That looks like it might need something. Of course, frozen goods need to go in the freezer. And, oh, let's go back to the meat section here. The hamburger, what I'll do is I'll buy like a 4 or 5 pound hunk of hamburger, and then I'll go home and then I'll portion those out really fast. And if I'm going to use one, say like I'm going to use lasagna for tomorrow, I'll leave out one portion of the hamburger and I will portion out the rest of them and throw them in my freezer. And then when I get done with the previous night's meal, I'll check and see what I need to unfreeze for the next day. So I'll just pull that out when I decide I'm going to make the stroganoff or the spaghetti. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go shopping, and then I am going to start showing how I'm going to make all of these different meals. And I'll start with the first one on here, which will be lasagna, one of my favorites. Oh darn, that means I gotta put mozzarella cheese over here. I forgot some other stuff too. So I'm gonna do that now. So on dairy, I'm going to also put cottage cheese and Parmesan. Actually, what I meant to say was cottage cheese and mozzarella.